Good morning. I am Sue Werner Thoresen, and I first attended South Church in 1974. The following week, I sang in the choir. There were 13 people in the choir that day, including a paid soloist, and we sat up in the chancel. Reverend McPhee gave the sermon. What I most remember was that there were only 13 people in the congregation. I counted them. After singing for 4 years in choirs at Smith College, I thought that having a good music program was very important in attending a church. But now we had two small children, and Louise Richardson was teaching a children's program that I could believe. So I stayed. Then Bob came, and the church congregation began to grow with a series of younger ministers. Yet when I wrote the National Register nomination in 1978-9, some members of the small congregation wanted to sell the church. I have come to think that South Church would not have survived if it had not had an endowment. I also think that if the church had not touched its endowment, it would be in multiple millions today. If a church has a $2 million endowment and a spending distribution policy of 4%, it would receive $80,000 a year for operations. But South Church took a lot of money from the endowment and did not make an effort to rebuild it for posterity for many years. Money that should have gone into the endowment was spent on operating. South Church was built in 1824-26 in a Greek revival style with a 17-foot addition in the middle 1800s. From an endowment perspective, it is equally important that Oliver W. Penhallow and his daughter Harriet Louise Penhallow led and were the principal donors to create this early endowment. Think how incredible that was. An endowment is a donation of money or property to a nonprofit organization that uses the resulting investment income for a specific purpose. Multiple nonprofit organizations that we all know have no endowment, excuse me, including churches, and so have no basic safety net to support the organization and building. Other churches benefit from endowments in the millions. Endowments are built with gifts and bequests. The endowment used to be managed separately from the board of directors. I chaired the endowment trustees for 4 years. Jeff Leith, Lee Eshelman, Carol Cole, Jeanette Hopkins, Charlie DeGrandpré, and I worked to grow that endowment and preserve it. Jeanette Hopkins was the primary author of the South Church Endowment History. During our time as endowment trustees, we started the Penhallow Society, named in honor of the early Penhallow contributors to recognize church members or friends of the church who gave or intended to give a planned gift to the church. We prepared a planned giving brochure. Examples of requests through your will or trust, naming South Church Endowment as a beneficiary of your life insurance, annuity, or retirement account, or pledging X dollars for Y years. You don't have to be dead to give. Bob and I started a small South Church organ maintenance fund 20 years ago, which provides money just for that purpose. When I became a trustee of the endowment, it was less than $300,000. The endowment trustees at that time felt the endowment should be grown and not be distributed until it was closer to $1 million. To protect it, we established a distribution policy based on a 3-year moving average on a quarterly basis, similar to that used by the Charitable Foundation. Peter Okeisen designed a church logo, and a Penhallow Society silver pin was developed. Then we reached out to church members to try and find out who had already planned a gift. Once a year, the trustees hosted a Penhallow Society dinner. We want to reinstate a Penhallow Society gathering again. Here is why I am passionate about planned giving. You are giving to keep the organization that shares your values and is so important to you healthy for future generations. You're making a difference for your children and grandchildren and community. No matter the dollar amount, that gift is important. If the church has lean years, you are rest assured that there will be a base income for operations. If you do not have a will, please get one right away. Otherwise, if you die without one intestate, the state will decide where your money goes and who will be the guardian of your children. I view estate planning as reverse megabucks. Where can you put your money where it will make a difference? I'm a worst case disaster planner. In that case, a lot of charities will benefit, and I had fun selecting them. In a normal case, I can still make a difference in my planned giving, and so can you. Please consider including South Church Endowment in your planned giving. Thank you.
Good morning. I honestly don't remember when I made my first legacy contribution to the Penhallow Society. It was long enough ago that I remember thinking, it's going to be a while before South Church receives any benefit from this. You see, my legacy contribution is half my life insurance policy. Since that time, I have seen the endowment grow, and I have appreciated how it helps us in the present. Each year, we take a percentage of the growth of the endowment as a contribution to the annual budget campaign. In recent years, with good growth, that has been between $35,000 and $40,000 per year. This year, 2021, we have budgeted $35,916. Sometimes we use the endowment for extraordinary circumstances. You may remember that last year at the January 2020 annual meeting, I didn't, that we withdrew $40,000 for an extraordinary circumstance. The church faced an IRS penalty relating to our contributions to our retirement funds. To avoid the penalty, we withdrew the $40,000, fixed the contribution, and saved that money. In my mind, that's exactly why we create an endowment in the first place, to meet extraordinary circumstances, to do unusual things. So think of the endowment as a resource. It's a resource that helps us thrive financially. It's a resource that helps us do the things in the community that we wish to do, to maintain our physical facilities and our buildings, and to live out our values in the larger world. Now, when I made the commitment to the Penhallow Society those many years ago, South Church was not as central to my life as it is today. We were still a young family with heavy demands on our time and limited financial resources. But what I did see was that my sons were benefiting from the OWL program, that they were seeing adults who were taking stands on controversial issues, that they were learning about injustices in the world and how they might impact them. So at the same time, I was growing spiritually, sometimes slowly, sometimes grudgingly, but it was this community that was stretching my mind. So now here I am. I'll be 74 in a couple of months. And South Church is central to my life. It's important to me, the work we do on immigrant justice, that we tackle the issue of racial inequality, that we give pastoral care to one another in times of trouble, that we offer service opportunities to our youth and to our adults, and that we are a beacon of liberal religion on the seacoast. I want this community to be here for another 300 plus years. And I like to think that 150 years from now, when a new roof is needed, a little bit of my legacy money will be there to replace it. May it be so.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Skye Maher, and I'm here today representing my husband, John Maher, and myself as members of the Penhallow Society on this, our Endowment Sunday. I'm here to talk about why we are members of the endowment of the Penhallow Society. And it is a very, very basic reason. When we joined this church many years ago, we joined because we were looking for a Unitarian Universalist community. And in Portsmouth, and this was it. It was a very small community. There were only 33 pledges to keep us alive. And the small number of people worked in every capacity. 33 pledges is not enough to keep our building heated, or the programs running, or pay for an RE director, any of that. But at that point, we were volunteering to do everything because we needed this community. We needed each other. We needed to see each other. We needed to have a minister talking about our values and our social justice issues and our community. And without the endowment committee and the endowment that we had left from prior parishioners, this community would not have existed for us in the 70s. It couldn't possibly stay alive with 33 small pledging units. So I am grateful that the endowment was there for us. It got us through some very difficult times, not only then, but once again, later, we had to use more endowment than we wanted. But it has kept us alive. And you know what we have now. And we have a very healthy church with lots of programs to keep us interested in being here, to keep our social justice issues in the forefront, to keep our spiritual connectedness going, to hire a new minister, to keep our religious education programs going. We are a large church with a lot of children, and that's an important part for all of us. So keeping our endowment healthy is critical to us, and the Penhallow Society has been able to maximize what we do and point out the values of making contributions through your will. And if you have any more interest, I'm sure that there are lots of people who would be like to be able to talk to you about it. John and I have made our IRA be the donor source for our contribution. As you may know, you have to take a percentage of it or designate a percentage of your IRA to be distributed, and South Church has a percentage of ours. So we now have a second generation here at South Church, my daughter, Mariah, and her husband, and their third generation, my granddaughter, Josie, and her sister, Ella, who is not here with us today. But now Mariah's turn.
Hi, hello, I'm Maher Roberts, and I am on the current endowment committee. I'm also a facilitator at the coming of age class here at South Church. And as you just heard, I was raised here in Portsmouth in this South Church community. And it was a wonderful place to grow up and be able to experience many, many different opportunities that I had throughout my life, and many friends that have become lifelong friends. And when I was actually asked to be a member of the endowment committee, it kind of took me back because I really didn't think of myself as being able to help our community, our congregation in that way. I've always thought of myself helping in other ways. But then I started to think about my own history here at the church and what the actual facility and church and community meant to me. And I realized that that had a lot more to do with the endowment than I had thought before. And I started to think about what the church has been for our community, the actual physical building within the town of Portsmouth, and what it means for our entire community, not just the people in our South Church congregation, our entire community. And I started to think about that. I also started to think about, as a person that has been here in the church for many years, how we have been in transition many different times, going through our transitions within ministries. And I've started to think about how the endowment really is about the congregation keeping itself alive and keeping this building alive and keeping our community alive, and how we are really the source, that the congregation itself, the people within the congregation, are really the source of the heartbeat of this church. And it gave me a lot of inspiration to become a member of the endowment committee, to be honest. especially when I think about the next generation and how I would love to lead the church and the town of Portsmouth to this next generation and have another generation of open-minded thinking people here in our community. Would you like to say anything about what you like about South Church?
I'm Josie, and I like the classes and the upstairs space where we sing and all that. I like the classes because I think they're just fun and we get to do art, and I also like the snacks at the snack table. So yeah.
Who doesn't like the snacks?
I love the snacks. Thank you.
Bye.